I'm doing a transmission fluid drain and fill on my 95 Honda Accord LX. It's a 4-cylinder automatic with an F22B2 non-VTEC engine. When I do transmission fluid flushes, I always use the manufacturer's fluid. So I went to a local Honda dealership, gave them the VIN number for the car. This is the type fluid they recommend, DW-1. I'm just getting home from the dealership now, so the transmission will be hot, and that fluid being hot also will help it flow better. You do not need to jack up the car to do this. You can get to the drain bolt underneath the passenger side front corner of the car. Just slide in underneath right here. The dipstick on my 95 Accord is located down at the bottom of the engine, just to the right of the battery. Little yellow handle right down there. Here's the underside of the transmission, and if you think about it in relation to the location of the dipstick with that yellow handle is straight up above. And right here, pointing out towards the passenger side of the car, that's the drain bolt that has to be removed, and a standard 3/8 socket will fit right into that bolt. And it's standard thread, so turn to the left to get it loose. Now we just wait to see how much drains out, and that's how much fluid we put back in. You can also pull the dipstick out. Doing that will allow air to come in from the top, and it'll help that old fluid flow out faster. All right, it's been draining for about 30 minutes, and we're down to a slow drip. The drain plug dropped down into the catch pan, so until I can fish that drain plug out, I'm gonna put a rag underneath where it's still dripping, just to keep it from getting on the concrete. Now we're gonna measure that old fluid that came out. Those purple marks indicate 2 quarts. So that's 2 right there. I'm gonna pour those 2 quarts into this jug, then I'll take it to be recycled. Now I can get to that drain plug, and the bottom half of that drain plug is magnetic. So if there are any metal shavings, they'll be stuck on that magnet. There are a little bit of shavings on there, but that's nothing to be worried about. And the car drives fine. There's no problem with the shifting at all. I'm just trying to avoid problems by doing this. Let's see how much more we get. We know we have 2 quarts so far. We got out an additional 16 ounces, which is half a quart, which brings the total of old fluid drained out to 2.5 quarts. So that's how much new fluid we have to add back in. Some people say that you should replace the washer, the crush washer, every time you drain the fluid. This one's in good shape. There are no imperfections at all in the metal, so I'm going to reuse it. Wipe everything down, get it nice and clean before reinstalling that plug, getting it started by hand to make sure you don't cross thread it. Get it nice and snug. I don't want to over tighten it and run the risk of stripping anything out. Now we're good down here. We can add the new fluid up top. We're going to add the new fluid down through the dipstick hole, but before I do that, I want to get the edge around that opening nice and clean, because whatever falls down through that hole goes straight into your transmission. To reach that dipstick hole, you're going to need a long funnel, and this one will work. But what I did years ago, using the shaft from an old golf club, was make an extension for that funnel. I cut off the very top of the golf club shaft, which is hollow. That allowed the funnel to slide right down in there. Now I have an extension that makes it much easier to reach that dipstick hole. And remember, we drained out 2.5 quarts of old fluid, so I'm going to slowly add in 2.5 quarts of new fluid. I've added 2 quarts so far, so this is the last one, and I'm only going to add half of this quart. When the fluid level in the bottle reaches this line right here, I know I will have added 16 ounces, which is half a quart. That's the halfway point right there, so I know I've added 2.5 quarts of clean fluid. Don't forget to reinstall your dipstick. Now I'm going to fire it up, take it around the block, and make sure it drives right. Make sure the transmission shifts well. The road test went well. Everything shifted smooth. Now I want to check the fluid level to make sure it's good. And after the drain and fill, the fluid level is good right at the top. And you can see the fluid's a little bit cleaner. And when you check the transmission fluid level, the engine should be at normal operating temperature, car should be on level ground, and the engine should be shut off. Now I'm going to check that drain bolt to make sure there are no leaks. And the drain bolt is good, no leaks. Now the owner's manual recommends doing what I just did, a drain and fill, every 24 months or every 30,000 miles, whichever comes first. And it also lists the automatic transmission fluid capacity as being only 2.5 US quarts, which is exactly how much I got out. So this capacity obviously just refers to a drain and fill. I believe the transmission holds about 7 quarts overall, but when you do a drain and fill, you only get 2.5 quarts out. So I'm not just going to do this one drain and fill. I'm going to do it 2 more times over the next month or so. Same thing you saw in this video. That way I will have introduced 7.5 quarts of new fluid into the transmission. And even though it says you can use an equivalent Dexron 2 type fluid, I still go with the genuine Honda fluid. It's a few dollars more per quart, but that's money well spent in my opinion. And knock on wood, I've never had to replace a transmission. Hope all this helps you out, and thanks for watching.